So if we try to run our project, because we are using JPA, we're going to get an error because it will try to locate the database and it won't be able to find. So we need to set up our connection to our database. So first, let's understand a little bit here. We have source, and under source we have main, and we have Java and our package, and here is our main class that allows us to run our project. So first, let's try to run our project first here. It will throw an error because of our database connection. It will try to connect to a database and there is nothing, and they will say that failed to locate the data source URL in here. Okay, so now we're going to set up our database connection. So you may ask me, how can we do that? So to set up our database connection, we click here on our inside our resources here. So here we have the application properties. As you can see, the only information that it's here right now is the application name, which is the same application name that we set up on our project. Okay, all right, so after that we're gonna connect to a database. Let me open here our database IDE here, so we could create a new database here. So I have, let me check. Oh, okay, I need to open the beaver. Let's open here, which will allows us to create and check all of the database that are available. Okay, right now here, so we have the Postgres connection here, and we're going to create a new database here. So I have basically 3 databases, but we're going to create another one. So right click, create new database. We're gonna call like sales, it will be our database name, and let's just use here sales database. Okay, our database is now created. We're not going to change the schema here, we're gonna use the public, so it's basically the default schema inside Postgres. And now we can get back to our API here, our project, and I'm gonna add the configuration in here. So we need the data source configurations. So this is very simple configurations that we use in basically all of databases connections that we need. It doesn't matter if it is Postgres or OracleDB or MongoDB, it doesn't matter. So here, how can I connect to a database? So basically we need to set up our data source URL, which we need to inform that we're going to use JDBC, Postgres, then this is the server. So I'm using localhost here. So if I'm trying to connect to a remote database, I just need to inform the IP address of the server. And this is the default port for Postgres, 5432. If you're running your database in another port, just change it here. And here is the database name. And here we have the username for the database. This is an installation that I have on my own computer, so it's a local installation. And when you install the Postgres SQL, basically you have the full username and password. In my case is Postgres and Postgres, the username and password. Of course, never do that in production. Always create passwords, different passwords for different environments when you're using Spring profiles. So in your development environment, you use a different password from the production. And of course that this username and password here, it shouldn't be, you definitely do not do that in production. For example, to set up in your own application properties, usually we use the operating system variables to store our passwords, and here we just call that the project will look for the environment variables inside your operating system. Okay, so this is basically what you need. There is 3 other information that is very important, so you can add as a setting on our project, which is the JPA Hibernate setting that allows us to create the database, the tables and columns, everything directly from our application, which is basically these 3 lines here. Actually, it's just 1 line, but we use these other lines here to set up, and I'm going to explain one by one. First, we have the JPA Hibernate DDL auto, so which means we're going to use update. What it means is when we run the project and we have a new entity in our project, it will synchronize with the database tables. So DDL stands for data definition language. So it's basically our create table or alter table, anything which changes the definition of our database. And we saying that is update because we can also have the create and none or a few options here, but we're gonna use update, so it will synchronize the changes we made in our entities. So in the last one, this second one here, it's basically to show the SQL in our console here. So when we run a query, it will show us because it will make easier for us to understand what is going on. But that's very important information here. Also, do not activate the show SQL in production, okay? Because it will generate a lot of logs and it's not healthy because it will generate a lot of logs, and of course that you need the observability of your project to be clean as possible, okay? And this one is just to format the SQL here in the console. So if this is false, it won't matter this last one here.